You've never actually experienced night. Not real night. Not the kind that existed for 300,000 years before anyone thought to push it back. Tonight, you'll close your eyes in a room that's never fully dark. A standby light, a street lamp through the curtains, the glow of a phone face down on a nightstand. You've slept this way your entire life, and so has every person you know. But for almost the entirety of human existence, when the sun went down, the world went black. Not dim, not quiet, black. The kind of dark where you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, where sounds came from everywhere, and most of them meant something was hunting you. So what did your ancestors actually do with those hours? The answer is not what you'd expect, and it changes everything we think we know about how humans became human. Let's start with the thing that made any of it survivable. Fire. The earliest solid evidence of humans deliberately controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, roughly 1 million years ago. But fire didn't just warm them. It didn't just cook their food. Fire restructured the entire human day in a way that no other tool in history has matched before or since. Before fire, the human schedule matched every other primate on Earth. Sun goes down, you stop moving. You climbed a tree, wedged yourself into a rock shelf, stayed as still as possible, and you waited for morning. Moving at night was dying. Our night vision is catastrophic compared to the animals that hunted us. Leopards can see in light 7 times dimmer than what humans need. Hyenas are not much better. Wolves run in packs in the dark and don't miss. Fire changed that equation overnight. Literally overnight. A campfire creates a circle of safety approximately 30 feet in diameter. Inside that circle, apex predators won't come. The light, the heat, the smoke, all of it trips something ancient and hard-coded in the animals that would otherwise eat you. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer groups alive today, groups still living something close to the original human pattern, have documented that members who wander beyond the fire's light at night face dramatically higher predation risk. Even now, even in the 21st century. But fire gave humans something even more important than safety. It gave them extra hours. Before fire, the useful human day ended at sunset. In summer, maybe 12 hours. In winter, as few as 8. Fire suddenly extended that window by 2 to 4 hours every single night. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours didn't just fill up with rest. They built something that no other species on Earth has ever built. They built culture. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published research that is as close to a time machine as science has ever produced. She spent years recording and analyzing conversations among the Juhowansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last communities on Earth still living in a pattern that closely mirrors the original human lifestyle. What she found in the data was striking enough that it ended up in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. During the day, roughly 80% of conversations were practical. Who hunts where? Which plants are ready? Logistics, disputes, resource negotiation. Daytime was work, even when no one was physically working. Talk itself was a form of labor. But at night, around the fire, everything changed. At night, 81% of conversations were stories. Not gossip, not planning, stories. Tales of people in distant places who nobody in the group had ever met. Accounts of ancestors. Jokes that made the whole camp laugh until they had to lean on each other. Myths about how the world began and what it was made of. And crucially, moral dilemmas. Extended back and forth discussions about what was right and what wasn't. About how someone should have acted. About what a good person does when something unfair happens. Wiesner's argument was that this is where human culture was literally born. Not in the daylight, not in the hunt, not at the water source. Around the fire, at night, in those extra hours that no other primate on Earth had. The campfire was the first theater, the first classroom, the first place of worship. It was where our species learned to simulate other people's minds, to imagine futures that didn't exist yet, to carry the memory of people who were dead. It was where we became, for the first time, something you could call human. But the night wasn't only about stories. Something else was happening too. Something that modern science didn't fully understand until the 1990s, when a historian and a psychiatrist, working decades apart and from completely different directions, arrived at the same impossible-seeming conclusion. You were not built to sleep the way you sleep. In 2001, historian Roger Ekirch published a paper that stopped sleep researchers cold. He had spent 16 years combing through historical records, prayer manuals from the 1400s, court documents, personal diaries, medical texts, letters written by ordinary people across 6 centuries of European history, even passages in Homer's Odyssey. In all of it, he found more than 500 references to the same phenomenon: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial era, nobody slept in one continuous block. They went to bed shortly after dark, slept for approximately 4 hours, woke up, stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours, and then slept again until dawn. This wasn't described as a problem. It wasn't treated as insomnia or illness. It was simply how the night worked. It had its own vocabulary. It had its own social rituals. A 16th century French physician recommended that couples who wanted to conceive children should do so during this middle window, because the body was at its most relaxed and receptive. People visited neighbors. They interpreted their dreams while they were fresh. They prayed. They wrote. Or they simply lay in the dark and thought. And then psychiatrist Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health confirmed what Ekirch's history was suggesting, from the other direction entirely. In 1992, Ware recruited volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives for a month. No lamps, no candles, 14 hours of darkness every night. Within weeks, without exception, every single participant settled into the same spontaneous pattern. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody told them to do this. No one suggested it. They simply did it, as if some ancient program buried inside them had been waiting for the right conditions to restart. Ware measured their hormone levels during the waking interval and found something that has never quite left the scientific conversation since. During those quiet middle-of-the-night hours, participants' brains were producing elevated prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation, during deep states of calm focus, after orgasm. The subjects described themselves as peaceful, reflective, in a state unlike anything they experienced during the normal waking day. It wasn't insomnia. It was its own distinct state of human consciousness, one that almost no one alive today has ever experienced. Because the thing that destroyed it wasn't a decision. Nobody chose to eliminate it. Paris installed street lamps in the 1660s under Louis XIV, who wanted to reduce crime. London followed. Candles got cheaper. Gas lamps arrived in the 1800s. And then, in 1879, Thomas Edison's commercialized electric bulb arrived, and within a single generation, 300,000 years of human nightlife was gone. Not changed, not adapted, gone. The word curfew, still used today, comes from the French couvre-feu, cover the fire. In medieval towns, a bell rang each night signaling everyone to extinguish their flames. Not because fire was dangerous, because darkness was the natural condition of night. Being out after dark without a lantern was suspicious in most medieval European cities. In many, it was illegal. The night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. People feared it in a way that's genuinely hard to imagine now. And then we didn't. And we called that progress. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light for 7 to 8 hours after sunset on average. That light, particularly the blue spectrum wavelengths emitted by screens, suppresses melatonin production and tells your brain it is still daytime. Researchers who send volunteers camping for a single week with no artificial light at all find that their melatonin cycles reset by nearly 2 full hours. Their bodies begin releasing sleep hormones at sunset, exactly as they were designed to, after just 7 days of darkness. That's all it takes. 7 days and 300,000 years of biology reasserts itself as if it never left. So what did ancient humans really do at night? They sat together in the only safe circle of light on Earth and told each other stories that built the first cultures. They slept in two phases, with a window of quiet reflection between them that modern science would recognize as a distinct and valuable state of consciousness. They lived under a sky so dark the Milky Way wasn't something you drove 2 hours to see. It was just there, every night, above the fire. And when they woke in the dark between first and second sleep, they lay still and thought about their lives. We gave all of that up for a light switch, and most of us never even knew it was there.